Hey everybody, welcome to Bill Sky, the database guy. And oh, I did not want to do this, but it looks really good on a resume. And that is installing and configuring Oracle database on a computer. It also gets you ready for Oracle database programming skills. Now, if you go to Oracle's website, it specifically says you should be using Oracle database on Oracle Linux or Red Hat Linux or on a container, something like that. So you really don't want to install it on your main computer. You want to install it in a virtual guest. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to get ready for the Oracle database install. To do that, we're going to install Oracle Linux version 8. And if you install version 9, you're going to have all kinds of trouble. But version 8 of Oracle Linux is very, very stable. It makes it relatively easy to install Oracle database, but there's a lot of parts to this thing. So let's just get to it. Okay, so what you're seeing here is my Mac desktop. I have VirtualBox loaded. Now, why am I using VirtualBox? Because VirtualBox is an Oracle product and Oracle recommends that you use VirtualBox. So we're going to install it on VirtualBox using Oracle Linux, as I may have mentioned earlier. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to download VirtualBox if you don't already have it downloaded. So I'm just going to type in VirtualBox download and go to the virtualbox.org site and download the one that's appropriate to your main computer's operating system. So if you're on Windows, download the Windows host. If you're on a Mac, download that. Notice they don't have a Mac M1 or M2 chip yet, a Mac ARM. I don't know if VirtualBox is ever going to do that, but right now it doesn't look like they have it. If your main computer is Linux, go ahead and download that. The other thing you want to download is this VirtualBox extension pack. So the way this works is that install VirtualBox down, and you have that extension pack. Once VirtualBox is installed, then just double click on the file that's downloaded from this VirtualBox extension pack, and it will automatically install it in VirtualBox. So that's the first thing you want to do, get that installed. The second thing you want to do is you want to download Oracle Linux, and do not download version 9 unless you want it, right? But you're not going to install Oracle database on it. You're going to install Oracle database on version 8.8. So download the full ISO file. It's a large file, but you'll have everything. It'll be downloaded. You don't have to worry about the internet. Just bite the bullet and download it. You can try to download the smaller ones. I wouldn't recommend it because it's going to have to do all kinds of downloads on the internet. So just download that one and then you're all set. So once that's all installed, downloaded and installed VirtualBox, and you have the ISO file for Oracle Linux 8 downloaded, go ahead in your VirtualBox, say up to machine new, and I'm going to go to guided mode. And I'm going to drop down ISO image, other, and I'm going to go to my downloads and I'm going to find my Oracle version 8. So I clicked on it. Now the Mac Finder is kind of weird because it shows it as kind of grayed out, but I can click on it. That's kind of weird. So I'll click open, and then I'm going to give it a name, Oracle Linux 8 with Oracle 23C database. All right, and I'm going to click skip unintended install, and what that means is that when I install it, I have to specify everything. That's fine. That's what we want because we want to be able to do it our way. So I'm going to click next. It asks me how much memory I want. I'm going to put 4096 here, and I'm going to give it 2 processors. Now, this is a multiple of 1024, which is a K, so you want to do it that way. Also, it depends upon your computer. So if you've got a pretty powerful computer, or if it's a computer with, let's say, 8 gigabytes, and you've got no other programs running, or you're going to only do this alone, then 4096 will be great. If you have a smaller computer, 2048 might be okay, but you really need to have at least 2 processors. So I'm going to click next. Now it asks me how big I want the hard drive. I'm going to make this 60. Now I don't think you really need to have it at 60. 20 might be okay, but Oracle database is not small. So this is an enterprise level database system. So you want to make sure you have enough space. And I make sure I just click on create virtual, Do not click on pre-allocate full size because it'll just use up all that hard disk. It'll actually create 60 gigabytes of a empty hard drive. If you leave that turned off, it'll make it bigger as you need it. So I'm going to click next, and I'm going to click finish here. Okay, now there it is right there. So I'm going to go up to properties. And interesting, so I'm going to go to settings. Let's see if settings will do it. Okay, so now under settings, under general, you pick the type of operating system you're going to be installing. I clicked on Linux. I think it saw it. And I'm going to click on Oracle Linux version 8. I'm going to make sure everything looks cool. So, okay, I've got all that stuff. Now the display, I want to make sure it's a VM SVGA. I'm going to knock the video memory all the way up. Yep, so that's what we want. I'm going to enable 3D acceleration. Now it depends upon your computer. I did this on Linux, on a Linux computer, and it crashed the Oracle operating system. So you don't really need that unless you're going to be playing games, but it doesn't hurt to have it. Okay, storage looks good. There's my CD-ROM. There's my hard drive. Okay, cool. Now, one thing that you need to do on network is that you have to have adapter number 1 under network is a NAT. Adapter number 2, you need to enable it, and you need to specify that it's a bridged adapter. Now, the reason for that is because the NAT adapter is for communicating. It's going to be using the same IP address as your main operating system, but this one right here is going to allow the communications to go out to your operating system, your main operating system from the guest, so you can actually attach to the database and things like that. So that's what I did for that, and it seems to really work well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and now I'm going to go ahead and start it. Now when you start it, depending upon the resolution of your main computer, you're going to get this horribly small window. I'm going to go up here and say view scaled mode, and now I can stretch it. Now the problem with this though is that when you've got a mouse in there, it may or may not work. So okay, so I'm going to click inside, and I'm going to move my mouse cursor up to where install Oracle Linux 8.8 is white color. And the resolution of this is going to look pretty bad because I'm going to zoom in on this video so you can see it better. And we're going to get the installation started. I'm not going to be recording the entire installation because there's a lot of file copies and things like that. So let's just see how things go. And what it's doing is it's loading all the kernel stuff, it's loading drivers, it's loading the operating system files. And this is coming off of that virtual ISO drive that you downloaded, or disk that you downloaded from the Oracle Linux website. So go ahead and let that go. All right, great. Now, this is what I was talking about by stretching it. I'm going to click in there, and you can see the little mouse in there. Watch as I move the mouse to the bottom right. It doesn't go all the way. It stops. I can't move it over to the right anymore because the display driver within the installation program does not support this stretching thing. So I'm going to turn off scale mode, and it's just a horrible resolution. Let me see if I can make it bigger. See what happens if I make it bigger. But now the mouse works. So I'm going to go, and this is VirtualBox. This doesn't happen on VMware. That's why I like VMware better. But, you know, I want this to work. So I'm going to click on Continue on the welcome screen. Now there's a number of things that you have to do here. You have to specify what you're going to install. You have to specify the installation destination. I'm going to click on that first. And what's weird is it already has the virtual disk checkmarked, but I have to click on that once, click on it a second time, and then say done. And now it's set up. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to KDump. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to disable that. I'm going to go to software selection, and I'm going to click on workstation. and I'm going to click on GNOME applications. I'm going to click on headless management, internet applications, Office Suite and productivity, legacy Unix compatibility. Okay. I'm not going to click on container management. I don't need that. I need development tools, so it's very important to put that. Graphical administration tools, network servers, let me see, security tools, and system tools. So those are all the things that you pick, and I'm going to click done. All right, now I have to click on the root password, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to give it a very simple password, just password, the word password. I'm going to click done, but it's going to say, hey, that's a really simple password. Click done anyway. Remember, we're not creating a production server here. We're creating just one to work with. Now I'm going to click on user creation. I'm going to call this one Linux user. I'm going to make the ID Linux user. Make this user an administrator and put in a password. Click done a second time, and that should be it. So go ahead and click on begin installation. It's going to copy a bunch of files. This might take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes depending upon how fast your computer is. And when it's done, I'm going to see it back here. Okay, once the installation is done, just go ahead and click on reboot system. And what we want to do before we download the Oracle database and start installing it is we want to update the operating system to the most recent version of everything. So let's get that all set up. And what you see right here is the Grub bootloader. Just go ahead, you can just let it sit and not touch anything, and it'll automatically boot into there. Now the first thing it'll show you is do you want to agree to the license? Yep. You can have my firstborn, that's fine. And then click on finish configuration. And then it's going to have you log in. Now remember that ID that we created, that Linux user ID, that's what we're going to go ahead and select. So just Linux user, and I just type password, which is the password I use. Now I am going to go into stretched mode now, so it can be a little bit more easy to see, and I can zoom out here. So I'm going to go to, as soon as it gets done booting up, all right, so I'm going to say view scaled mode. And then I can go ahead and stretch it. All right, then it asks me what language. English is fine. English keyboard is fine. I'm going to turn off location services and start using it. All right, so this is a Linux. Now this is a Red Hat based Linux, an RPM Linux, so it's going to use different types of commands. So let's go ahead. Now the first thing that you should notice is that you don't have any internet access. So if I go to the browser, I clicked on activities in the Firefox browser, it's not going to be able to find anything. So we're having trouble finding that site. So what you need to do is you need to go up here, drop this down, go to Ethernet, and click connect. And that should get you in there. Now let's go ahead and refresh that. And there you go. So now you're on. Now you're going to have to do that every time you boot up, or just click on that down arrow, go to Ethernet wired settings, and go up here to the little settings icon and connect automatically. Apply and then close it. Now I'm going to do that to the second one as well. You should have two Ethernet adapters. Oh, that one's already set up to connect automatically. Cool. And let's go ahead and connect it. All right. So there you go. So now you're ready to go. Now let's go ahead and get some updates. So I'm going to click on activities. I'm going to bring up the terminal, and I'm going to type in a command sudo dnf upgrade. It asked me to type in my password. I said password. Now sudo is super user do, and this when I set up the user ID during installation, I said make an administrator ID. And that's why you do that, is so you can download all of the updates. You can do all these special things. And what it's doing now is it's downloading all of the catalogs for the operating system, the applications that you might have installed and everything, and then it's going to allow you to update it. And the update, depending upon when you're watching this video or when you're trying it and when the operating system came out, it's 1 gigabyte. So let's go ahead and just say yes and press enter. And I'm going to let this run. And when it's done, we'll come back and continue. If it asks you if you want to bring in some important keys, just always say yes to all of these. I mean, there's nothing it's going to do that's going to hurt your system, or it's just updating the operating system. And once the updates are done, that's pretty much it. So you can just go ahead and close that. Now, I always like to add a couple other things to make my experience with this Linux good. I'm going to click on Activities, and I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to type in Software, and I'm going to click on this software bag, the shopping bag, and I'm going to go up to the search, and I'm going to look for tweaks and press enter. And you want to download these GNOME tweaks. I'm going to click on GNOME tweaks and click install. It might ask you for the password, so your password is just password. And I'll show you why these GNOME tweaks are good. Now, GNOME is the GUI. It's the actual, presenting the windows and all that stuff. So now I'm going to go up to Activities. I'm going to type in tweak, and there it is. I'm going to click on tweaks. I'm going to go down here to Windows, and I'm going to turn on maximize and minimize. Now we have a maximize and minimize button up here. The other thing that I like to do is I'm going to go up to Activities and type in, or actually no, I'm going to right click on the background and type Display Settings, and I'm going to change the resolution to something that's a little more reasonable. 14, I like 14 by 900. So now we've got a better resolution. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. This is one of the reasons I don't like VirtualBox. It's got some weird little things going on here. I'm going to click the close button. It should ask me, do I want to save this machine? I'm going to just send the shutdown signal and click OK. So that should tell the operating system to shut down, and then I'm going to go ahead and restart it. Alright, so there's my Oracle Linux. I'm going to click Start again. Again, this is another reason why I like VMware so much better. You don't have these issues. Alright, so it looks like it did install some updates, so let's go ahead and start it up. Now, again, I think there's something else I want to do. We want to also install the Guest Editions CD, so let's do that, and then we'll basically be done setting it up, and then we'll start on the Oracle database installation. Now, for those of you that have never installed an operating system before, everything we're going through right now is not unusual. So, all right, so let's go up to Devices, and I'm going to say Insert Guest Edition CD Image. Now, again, this is VirtualBox. If you're using VMware, you shouldn't have to do this. And then it asks me, do you want to restart it? Yep, I want to run it. It's going to ask me for my password. Now, what these guest editions are is they allow you to do things like drag and drop from the operating system, from your main operating system to the guest, and then back. Also, copy and paste works. We have to enable that. We're going to do that. And then once all that's done, then we'll be done. Then the operating system will be installed. So let it finish. Press Enter. All right. Now up here, I'm going to click up here. I'm going to click the power button, and I'm going to click power off. Now I want to do one last thing. That's enable copy and paste. So let this shut down. I've seen Oracle Linux taking a long time to shut down after you've made changes, like you've installed the guest tools, the guest operating system tools, and it might be because it's writing out files, it's doing some configuration. So I'm not 100% sure what it's doing, but this might take a minute or two, so just go ahead and be patient. Okay, once it's done shutting down, I want to do a couple things. I'm going to click on Settings, and I'm going to go over here to, and I always forget where it is. Is it under Shared Folders? No. Let's go to General. Let's see where that is. Again, I'm always forgetting where it is. Storage, audio, network port, user interface maybe. There is a setting on VirtualBox that allows you to turn on or off the ability to copy and paste. Here it is right here. So under General, Advanced, you want to share the clipboard, and I always like to say bidirectional, and you want to drag and drop, you say bidirectional. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to drag and drop files from your main operating system to the Linux or copy and paste. Now I'm going to restart this. Actually, before I restart it, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to make sure I have snapshots selected. So I click to the right side of the operating system, click snapshots. I'm going to take a snapshot and I'm just going to say base operating system. Now the reason why I'm taking a snapshot is that if some point I mess up the operating system, I don't have to reinstall it from scratch. I can always go back. So now let's go ahead and restart it. And I believe I'm still in stretched mode. Yep, I'm still in scaled mode, which is fine. And let's see if everything is set up the way we want it. And I'll give you a demonstration of this drag and drop. So let's log in. Now I always like to double check, make sure everything is going. So I'm going to click up here on the top right. It looks like the second Ethernet adapter is off, so I'm going to click on that and say connect. So I want both of my Ethernet adapters. Those are the network adapters. I'm going to go and look at wired settings for the second one. Oh, there it is. So there's the first one. Here's the second one, and I didn't turn this on for the second one. All right. So we'll see what good that is. Now I have a file right here. Let's see if this works. I'm going to go to Activities, Files, and I'm going to go to Documents. I'm going to drag this from my desktop onto here. And you see, sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. Even though I turned on the guest operating system, or I installed the guest operating system, even though I basically did everything I needed to do, it still is giving me grief. It's still not working all the time. This is the problem with using a product like VirtualBox. It's just not, it's free, you kind of get what you pay for. VMware is much more, well, but you have to pay for VMware. And it's not that expensive really. But yeah, I can't, for some reason it's not allowing me to drag and drop. Let's see if it does copy and paste. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to copy something. So that would be kind of nice. I'm going to right click and, well, let's just say open in terminal. Okay, so it did let me copy and paste. So that was good. So I copied from a file, from an editor I had on my Mac, I pasted it. So at least copy and paste works. But for some reason, drag and drop doesn't work. I don't have any idea why. Now I might be able to right-click on the file and say copy, and then right-click on the background, but paste isn't enabled. So I'm not sure what's going on. But we don't really need that because we're going to all take care of everything from within Oracle Linux. Okay? So that's setting up the operating system. After you do this a few times, it's not so difficult. But when you're talking about a development environment, where you're talking about setting up a server, this is all the stuff you have to go through just to get the operating system set up, and then you can install the database. And that's what we're going to do on our next video.